Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. If you have your real estate license and send out mailers for your investment business, you could get into trouble for what's called targeting listed properties. Now, this rule was put in place to stop realtors from soliciting to specific properties because they are upset they did not get that listing. If you mailed out 1,000 random postcards looking for potential sellers so you can flip their home, and one happens to end up at a property that was just listed, that listing agent can report you for targeting. So, if you do not want to run the risk of losing your license, you must disclose on your marketing materials that you are a licensed realtor. We use these exact words on all of our direct mail campaigns. Quote, "While Vance is a licensed real estate broker, the purpose of this inquiry is to buy your home, not list it. You should reach out to your local MLS to find out specifically what is required to disclose on your marketing materials." Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us one of my favorite gingers, Bob McIntosh. Bob is a national speaker and entrepreneur, having spent over 3,500 hours on stages and helped more than 11,000 people across the U.S. He's a #1 Amazon best-selling author and has been personally responsible for helping thousands of entrepreneurs generate millions in profits. He has been featured on over 40 podcasts, is a founding member of the Forbes Real Estate Council, providing direction and information in the real estate space for all of Forbes readers. He has been published on ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, Yahoo News, Small Business Trendsetters, The Money Show, The Miami Herald, Wall Street Select, and now the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. I would also like to add that besides his lovely, fiery red hair, he wears a superhero's cape because he has rescued me personally anytime I am stuck on some sort of digital functionality issue, or simply by assisting me to create my best online marketing. I am so excited for this interview because he never disappoints. Welcome to the show, Bob McIntosh. Yay!
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate being here, the invite, and for all of you taking the time to listen. Congratulations on picking a badass podcast.
Badass, yes. Definitely. So I've known you for a few years, and I actually coach with your dad, who is one of my favorite people on the planet. And I want to hear how you guys started. I honestly do not know the story. I think you started in early 2000 maybe. So tell us how you got involved in real estate investing first.
Yeah, so we started in 2010, actually. What
year did I say? 2010.
2010.
You know, whatever.
I mean,
There's
2000,
a zero.
I was still in high school, so minor details, but you know.
Oh my God, how old are you?
I know, right?
How
it's too
old are
old.
you?
It's too old. My birthday was just Sunday, so I just turned 38. Oof.
Oh my goodness,
So old.
I am 10 years older than you. Ugh. All right, keep going.
Yeah, I know.
Keep going. 2010.
The short version is graduated college, had a bunch of money left over from my parents and grandparents because they were kind enough to take care of me through college and to pay for my college. And I was like, okay, well, I got all this money left. What do I do? And I was like, do I go on a trip? Do I go here? Do I do these things? And I just actually sat around from 2006 until 2009, and didn't do anything with that money. I just left it sitting in my account, which, hey, analysis paralysis, right? Definitely don't want to be in there. And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he's like, real estate. And I was like, real estate. Yeah, real estate. So I bought my very first duplex in my hometown of Lockport, New York, which is still where my parents live right now, at least. And bought that. And I was like, okay, cool. And I went the traditional route, just got a mortgage. I put down 10%. And I was like, all right, making cash flow. It's pretty good. This is good. I want to buy a bunch more of these, but I'm a college kid that's only, a couple years outside of college. I don't have a ton of money saved up. So I was like, how do I get more faster? And started flipping. And then my dad had sold his old business and was like, bored. I'll say, I'm sure he'll have a different description of it if you talk to him, but I would say he was bored based on my perspective. And yeah, so he came down and saw our first flip, which was a complete disaster. We lost a bunch of money and did everything you could possibly do wrong. But yeah, we figured it out and turned things around, started doing it back in Buffalo. And that's that. But I was living in Los Angeles and we were doing all of our flips in Buffalo. So I had to get really good at things that didn't require me to be there in person. So that became marketing. And a lot of it became on the internet because at least at that time, nobody was doing internet marketing. So it was much, much easier than it is today. Not to say it's not easy still, because still a lot of folks don't do it right. But at that point, it was the wild, wild west. You could pretty much get away with anything.
And I did not realize you have been in it that long, but you are my go-to person. I was using a certain program online, we won't mention, but I was stuck. And I'm telling you, it was like a week and I could not figure out how to fix this. And I'm like, you know what? What have I been waiting for? Let me get Bob McIntosh on the phone. And not only the how to do things, but all the intricacies that go on in these actual programs and stuff, which blows my mind because I just don't have patience for that. So speaking of patience, I do have to let the listeners know you are it's incredible how I get on the phone with you and my mind is just spinning and you have the patience to just explain it to me in a way where I'm like, Bob, that's why I said you are a superhero to me because I don't know where you got that gift, but it's super, super impressive. So now you're doing all the marketing stuff. So tell us a little bit more about that. What's your forte in it? I know it's digital and all that stuff. I know, but tell the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've expanded since then. I actually more or less have paused the real estate in terms of active flipping. It just stopped kind of making sense for a while. And but my dad and I still do rentals. And if the right flip comes along, I'm sure we'll do it. And we got a commercial project that we're in process of right now doing due diligence with. But I realized, hey, you know what, as much as I love real estate, I love digital marketing. And the cool part is that in the space of real estate, a lot of folks don't do it right. In fact, most folks don't do it at all. And so it opens up an entire world of possibility for them. And the other fun part for me is that I just get it. I don't know what else to say other than, it clicks for me. It all, like technology always has, from, the very first computer that we got back in the early 90s, all the way through college. And then I used to hack banks for a living. So legally, let me quantify that. That was legal. But you talked about my patience, and a lot of that came from, I'm getting paid a lot of money to explain to a board of directors who are all 80 years old why they can't just put their computer and plug it into their home Wi-Fi and make things work. So I think that's part of it. But I love, for me, the bigger part is it's extremely satisfying to watch someone see the results of what they do online and realize, holy crap, like there's people out there that I don't even know, that don't know me, and just connected with me randomly through a website, give me their information, and then buy or sell stuff to or from me. In the case of real estate, it could be selling their house to you, or it could be a buyer buying a house from you. Either way, it's a lot of fun to watch that happen, and then watch people like go, oh man, okay, I could see how this can be insanely scalable over time.
And, a lot of my listeners, most of my listeners are in the real estate investment industry, and some of them are brand new. So what would you tell a newbie where to start?
Yeah, so when it comes to getting started online, there's a couple of things that are going to be the most important. And this is what I tell everyone who's just getting started. And we work with a lot of brand new investors. In fact, our company has a very low price point real estate website that we help get people set up with, because your website is the single most important online piece that you can have, without a doubt. And here's why. If you think about when you were in school and you took the SATs, remember how you put your name on the piece of paper, and if you put your name on the paper, you got a score. And if you answered all the questions wrong, you did worse. Well, answering all the questions wrong is like not having a website, right? Like you're going to actually hurt your business by not doing it. And it's not that it has to be the most complex, insane thing. You don't have to spend tons and tons of time doing it, but you do need to have something. And the reason is that when people want to know about you, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go to the web and look you up. If you can't find your company, that's strike one. If your website is bad, that's strike two. And even worse is if it's a really bad website. So like if you take something like built in the 90s, because then it shows you don't care. It's not even that I didn't bother to set one up. It's like, hey, I understand this is important, so I built one, but it's so old now that and I don't care, which means how are they going to think, how is that company going to treat me as a seller, a buyer, a lender, whatever you're dealing with in your business. And so your website is hands down, unequivocally one of the most important things that you can have, without a doubt.
So let me ask this question. On websites. And I'm with you 1,000% on that. But I have heard people say, websites aren't that important because when people Google, sell my house fast, you're going to have all the biggies come up first. So, but I try to explain to them that, it's not necessarily just for the search engine portion of it, for like strangers to find you. It's to build your credibility for people who already have been in touch with you. So am I right in saying that, or is there a way to
Absolutely.
make it? Okay.
Yeah. So look, there's a way to get on those search engine results. In fact, I think even still, despite the fact that we're not doing anything actively, if you look at any of the cities where we buy houses in the Buffalo area, we're usually number one. I think we should still be number two in most cases, and sometimes number three. Now that doesn't happen by chance, right? The mistake that people make is that they think if I build a website, I'll suddenly start getting ranked because, that's what I do. And that's not how it works. You have to actively put in the work to write blog posts, find keywords, put the right things in the right places, and do all that. But even though let's just say you have a brand new website, you've not done any of those things, you still have it, right? Well, my guess is you're probably going to be doing other marketing. You're putting up your website is not going to be your only marketing, because if it is, you're not going to have a business for very long, because by itself, it's not going to get you deals. Website doesn't get you deals initially. Long term, if you do all the right things the right way and you focus on search engine optimization, or SEO, yes, it certainly can. In fact, if you look, probably about 40% of the deals that we've bought came from our search engine optimization, which is insane. But that didn't happen in year 1 or 2 or 3. That's over the last 10 years of us doing this. Actually, I just realized this year is 10 years. Of like actively working on our stuff. So it happens over time. But with that said, here's what's going to happen if you don't have a website. Let's say you do a direct mail campaign. Let's say you do bandit signs. Let's say you do door knockers, or you do driving for dollars, or you do any, ringless voicemails, text blasts, any of the things that are happening out there right now that you could be doing. What's going to happen when they say, oh, it's Bob with Arcane Properties, and then they go look for Arcane Properties and they can't find it anywhere, or it looks really terrible? You just lost credibility. So while it may not directly be responsible for bringing leads in and generating you income, it will 100% be responsible for you losing income if it's done poorly or not at all. And so that's how you have to think about it. It's an unfortunate thing. It used to be, hey, I could pop a website up, get a good domain, like, WeBuyHousesBuffalo.com, and I'd be ranked, give me about 2-3 weeks and I'd be ranked. But people caught on, and Google caught on, I should say, to people like me who were like, oh, let me just do this, right? And it wasn't necessarily the best site, but it was just, we took advantage of the algorithm. And so nowadays it's way harder to take advantage of the algorithm, and there's a lot more downside to doing so. So don't think about it from the getting ranked standpoint, and don't think about it from a lead generation standpoint. Think about it from a credibility standpoint, and think about, here we are, it's May, maybe we're coming up on Memorial Day weekend or 4th of July weekend this summer. Let's say you're a brand new investor and you're talking with your friends and family, right? And they say, oh, you're doing that real estate thing, or, oh, you're buying houses, right? And you go, yeah, actually, here's my website. And then you show them a good website. I guarantee you watch their entire mood change. Like, oh, wow, you have like a legit website. And it has all these pages talking about all the, like you're serious. And it will change the conversation for your friends and family, which means it's going to change the conversation for a stranger.
Agreed. 1,000%. Thanks for reinforcing that. Now, how is a website? A website is different from, say, like a pay-per-click ad. So can you just differentiate between the two?
Yeah. So in the
And by the
world
way, it's
of
I.
digital,
By the way, it's pay per click, like PAYPER, because this dumbass was like paper, PAPER. That's what I was Googling. I was like, what is pay per click?
paperclip. No, you were searching paperclip, and that little guy from Microsoft Office was popping up like, "Hey, can I help you?" And you're
Exactly.
like, "Yes. What is this?"
So pay per click. How is that different from
Yes.
having a website?
Yeah. So in the world of digital marketing, there are essentially three forms of marketing. Your website is one, and within that sub niche of that is your SEO, which is organic search results. So that's showing up, organically. Number two is social media. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, TikTok, Snapchat. All the other ones, there's like a million others I'm forgetting, I'm sure off the top of my head, but all of those, right? And then number three is paid traffic. And paid traffic is Google pay per click, or it could be Facebook ads. And there's other platforms too. Hulu has an ad platform now. TikTok does, Pinterest does, LinkedIn does. All of these places sell advertising. And so when we look at PPC, or pay per click, which is what you're talking about, versus your website, two very different things. PPC is basically spending money to get leads in the door now. So you think about like a direct mail campaign. I pay, the mail goes out. I get calls, as soon as the mail arrives tomorrow, next week, depending on when you send it, it's immediate, more or less. Search engine through your website is long term. If I go do all the right search engine stuff today, I'm not going to see results tomorrow. It might be between 3 and 12 months, depending on how aggressive you go after it, before you start to see those results. But pay per click, I can literally start it up today and start seeing results in today. So when we look at managing pay per click, one of the important things, and this is something that's really, really important, especially for new investors. And I want to make it clear, this is why you should be listening to me on this. Between my company and our partners, we manage over 9 figures a month of paid advertising. Let that sink in for a second. So I know a lot about paid advertising. And the thing that people get wrong, and they think incorrectly about paid advertising, is that some magical cure for their lead ills. I don't have enough leads, I'll just do PPC because I've been told it's great. And look, it can absolutely be great, but you got to understand that pay per click, because it's so easy to do, is also very expensive. It's in fact one of the most expensive ways to generate leads in the real estate space. On average, my general cost that I see for other real estate investors on the low side is $150. On the high side is $300 per lead. That's not a deal. That's a lead. Now, your lead to deal ratio should be about one deal for every 10 leads, thereabouts, because these are highly targeted and qualified folks. Now, that's with Google, which is what PPC really is. On Facebook ads, which is the other side of paid advertising, when it comes to using Facebook ads for motivated sellers, I would say don't do it unless you have a ton of experience. You really understand, you know how to generate and upload and cross-reference lists, to create custom audiences and drop in and do a bunch of other things. Otherwise, don't. Because I guarantee you that you're probably doing it wrong and you're just going to burn a bunch of money. Literally, I was just on a conversation, I don't know, last week or 2 weeks ago, I think. He's like, yeah, I've put $3,000 into paid ads on Facebook this month and I haven't gotten a single deal. I was like, show me what you're doing. And I was like, yeah, it's because you're doing everything wrong. Literally, he was told Facebook ads it'll work, and without any context or training or understanding, just started throwing money at Facebook and expecting it to work. And the problem is that when we look at paid advertising online, and this is where people get it wrong, paid advertising on Facebook is all demographic based. And I'm going to ask you, what's the demographic? Describe to me the perfect demographic of a motivated seller. You can't. Yeah, right. Because it could be the 95-year-old woman who's going to hospice or long-term care that's selling it, and the kids live out of town. It could be the 35-year-old who just lost his job and is like, shoot, I'm facing foreclosure. It could be the middle-aged guy who got a divorce and he's piecing out. It could be that, hey, I inherited this house from my great aunt, twice removed second cousin's brother's mother, and I don't know anything about it. I don't want the house, and so I just left it sit there, and now it's dilapidated, and I need to take care of it. It could be a probate. Like there's no universal demographic of a motivated seller, and so Facebook advertising, which is based solely on demographics, is very difficult to do effectively unless we're defining who the audience is ahead of time by uploading lists and which I'm not going to get into the details of that because it's way more complex than that. But that's the thing. Now on the Google, on the other hand, it's all search, right? Like I'm searching sell my house in Buffalo. I'm searching, we buy houses. I'm searching who can buy my house for cash or, these things, and I can get found that way. But because it's so much easier, the cost goes up dramatically because literally I can have a campaign going in about 30 to 40 minutes and be, a basic campaign, maybe not a great one, but a basic one in about 30 to 40 minutes and be seeding leads in about an hour to 2 hours. So because of that, the cost just goes way up.
Wow. I mean, that's a lot that you just said. And I guess my question, I didn't present it properly when I was talking about the pay-per-clicks. When they're clicking on something, they are actually clicking on a website, but that's not your website. So can you just do the differentiation between them?
Gotcha. Well, it can be. So here's the thing. And this is another thing that I see. It's an older trend and it still works, but it's not necessarily the best way. So when we're doing pay-per-click, the old idea was, hey, we have all these landing pages, right? So we build all, maybe I have WeBuyHousesBuffalo.com and it's not my core property, Arcane Properties Group page. That worked for a long time, and it still can. There's no reason it can't, but it can also work on your core site. The more important part about a landing page that someone's going to is not where it is or what the URL is. What's important is, does the design lend to someone giving you their information? And so when we think about design of a landing page for any Google paid advertising, but especially real estate, because you got to think, especially for sellers, which is what most of us are trying to find in most cases. That's why we're doing PPC. When we look at sellers, they're very flighty, right? They're motivated for a reason. Usually it's financial distress. That's the number one biggest reason that someone's going to sell us their house. Or number two is emotional distress. In both of those cases, I'm not in a good place if I'm a seller. I don't feel good, and therefore I'm going to be very flighty. I'm not going to be very trusting. I'm going to be very arm's length. I'm going to be lots of things. And so when you look at design of a landing page, where it is doesn't really matter. What is important is, do I have the opportunity to get my information collected from your standpoint? Do I understand as the person landing on the page what you're offering, and is it what I'm looking for? And if those three things are true, then I will convert. So think about it like this. You go to Costco, for example. You ever been to Costco?
Oh, yeah.
So you go to Costco and you want one or two things, but you leave with an entire shopping cart full. And the reason that happens, I need
those 1,000 paper plates. I need them.
Always, right? But when you get there, how many different options of 1,000 packs paper plates are there? I mean, how many different kinds can you buy? Two?
Two or three, maybe? Yes.
Yeah, 2 or 3, right? But if you go to a grocery store, there might be 5 to 8. If you go to a super Walmart, there's like 10.
Correct.
And this is what Costco and all the big guys, Sam's, BJ's, all of them have figured out, is they said, more choice, less decision. And so a landing page should be the same way. Here's what I do. Here's how I'll help you. Either give me your information or GTFO. Right? And that's it. That's all there is to it. And so now my personal belief, and this is what I've seen for our clients that we're doing this for, is that if you're going to send all this traffic to a website, it's best to send it to your actual core website and have a landing page within your internal website. And the reason being, now it might be, you might not have all your main menu options and all the different things. It might be, a very plain looking page, but it's still on your core domain. And the reason is that I'm sending a lot of folks to that. And one of the things that Google looks for when it looks at search engine optimization and whether you should rank or not is how many folks are coming here. Do they go to a lot of other pages on your site? Do they spend a lot of time on your site? And so the more I keep them internal on my site, the better I'm going to look to Google, and also understand that Google is controlling how I rank. While they've never directly admitted it, I promise you that there's a factor in them that says, oh, this guy's getting a lot of Google traffic from paid ads. We'll bump him up a little bit on the search side because he's helping our ecosystem for us to do better. Now, again, they haven't necessarily directly said that, but the fact is that it seems to work. So I'm guessing it's probably true.
I love that. That is such great information. So we touched on the website. We touched on pay-per-click, paid advertising. Let's get into social media, because this is where, it's an opportunity. It's free to advertise on there and promote your business. What is one of the biggest mistakes you can make on social media?
The biggest mistake you can make on social media is not owning your presence in your space. And what I mean by that is you should be on every single social network with the same handle, username, URL, whatever they call it on that platform. You should own your space and everything. So if you look me up, You'll find me at the Bob McIntosh, THE Bob McIntosh, on every single network. There's not one that I don't have that handle on. Now, I get that sometimes that can be difficult, right? Maybe you get someplace and they've already got that one, but at the very least, you should try to have something very close to it if you can. If you can't have that exact one, then something that's, as close as possible is going to be the next best. Because look, you never know what's going to come and go. Like if you told me in 2016 that Twitter would still be surviving, I would have been like, no way. But then Trump started using Twitter all the time. This is not a political statement about him or whatever, but he used it a lot. And because he used it a lot, it breathed new life into a platform that would have probably died otherwise. Now we have Biden in office who doesn't use Twitter pretty much at all, from what I can see, on occasion here or there, but doesn't really hardly at all. And guess what? Already you're seeing the relevance of Twitter and how many people talk about Twitter dissipate. But the thing is that we could have in 4 years another person that comes in that is big on it again, or a resurgence. Like it's been interesting to watch the landscape of social media change, right? Facebook has always been fairly dominant, but LinkedIn kind of faded away for a while, then came back. Instagram was kind of good for a while, then kind of got weird when Facebook bought them, and now is resurging right now. TikTok is exploding right now. So all of these, right? It's about owning your space, and whether you find yourself using it or not, at least claim your stake in it. It's free land grab, if you will. You might as well drive your stake in and own it.
And MySpace? No more MySpace?
MySpace. Hey, MySpace is still around if you're into music. I think Justin Timberlake bought MySpace, if I remember correctly. He was trying to revamp it into a music platform, but I don't think that really worked so well for him.
I did not know that. So
But me and Tom are still bros, so.
So what's the first thing a newbie should do on social media to start growing their business? Give us some tips.
Yeah, just the tips.
The tip.
I was going to give more than one, but if you just want one.
One of my girlfriends just wrote a book, and that's the name of her book.
I know.
Okay.
I
yes.
just saw it in your feed, and I was like, oh, that's why it came to mind. So free plug for her book.
Yes. Go Tanya.
So one of the things that I would say is, I'm going to give a few things. Number one, don't get consumed by social media. This is what I see happen all the time. And at the end of the day, one of the most important things to understand about social media is that you need to, as a business owner, be a contributor, not a consumer. And what that means is show up to post and provide value and answer the folks who respond to you, to participate in conversations that benefit you, but you're not there to be mindlessly scrolling through and consuming that content. That's going to set you back with a lot of time that you could be focused on other things. So that's number one. Number two is groups. Almost every platform has some form of groups now, with the exception of Instagram. But most of the platforms have groups, and the groups are great because they allow for you to have a specific focus of or like but more of a narrow focus of people, right? Like if you go to your Facebook feed today, for example, you're going to see all kinds of things, from politics to COVID to vaccination to birthdays to weddings to Lambos to dogs to babies to whatever, right? You've got no control over what's going on in your feed. The algorithm decides what you're seeing. But the one thing that has never been the case in Facebook is it's never been okay in a group around real estate to talk about crypto. Unless that was brought up by the owner of the group. It's not okay to talk about, hey, what should I be doing? How do I rip off IKEA by, sending them a message saying I'm missing this part from my thing, and sending a message for each individual part until I get a free IKEA desk. That's not what we're here for, right? And by the way, that apparently does work, and it's crazy, but it takes a little while. Anyways, the point is, the groups are there for a reason, right? It's to talk about what's happening inside the group. It's to talk about what's going on in the context of that group. And that's the most important thing that we can do on social networks, is participate in those conversations. So the only contributing that you should be doing should be in those groups focused around what it is. Now, I want to be very, very clear. Contributing in a group needs to have an end benefit to you. This is an important distinction that a lot of folks get wrong, right? Don't just participate in a group by posting gifts because someone said you had to post gifts or whatever, right? There should be a directed conversation around why you're there, and the people in the group should benefit you. Now, that could be, hey, I'm learning from them. It could be, hey, they could be potential private lenders in this group. It could be talking to a local buy-sell trade group, and there's folks that are always out there driving around, whatever. Like, as long as you understand why you're participating in that conversation with that group and there's an end benefit to you, then that's a good conversation to participate in. Otherwise, exit out of your life, because there's a million other things you should be focusing on that are not that.
Right. So you mentioned algorithms before, and I have heard, so correct me if I'm wrong, to do posts where they are promoting interaction. So you would say, hey, I have this house I'm getting ready to flip. I can't decide on fixtures. Should I go with the black mat or should I go with the gold? Like this or that type of thing. So are those good to get more people to interact, and that pushes you to the top of the feed? Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. So in most of the algorithms, primarily in Facebook and with Instagram, since it's owned by Facebook, but really with all the platforms, the more engagement that you get, the better your post is going to be seen. So basically, there's so much content being pushed out to social networks right now that the algorithm is designed to try to make it easier. Because if you literally just said, show me everything, you would never see everything because there's too much being posted. So it does its best to try to figure that out. Now, there's pros and cons to that algorithm, and we could debate that for a whole different that'd be a whole different podcast episode debating about the algorithm itself. But at the end of the day, engagement will always get your post to be seen by more folks. So the more folks who are commenting, liking, sharing, and not even just liking, but any of the reactions. So like, heart, funny, sad, cry, whatever,
care,
any of those. All of those, yeah, they're all, they used to actually have weights. Now they're all pretty much equal. But understand that all engagement is not created equal. Every form of engagement comes with a point value, and that point value determines how your total post value. And the higher your total post value is, the higher it's going to show in news feeds, and the more likely it is to be shown to more people. And so the numbers change, but more or less a good round way to think about it is any reaction is a +1. So if I heart, like, care, whatever, that's +1. A comment is +3, and a share is +15. Right. So shares are really the most valuable, but they're also the least likely to happen, right? No one's going to share a post unless they really, 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 really like it. So that's why. Now, the other thing to think about when it comes to post content is that a negative reaction, which is defined by Facebook as someone saying, hide this post from my feed, hide this person from my feed, or report this post, is a -100.
Yikes.
So this is where, people talk about politics, and sure, you will. You're going to get a lot of hate, but you're also going to get a lot of people there. I don't personally subscribe to that. In 99% of the cases, I rarely talk about politics just because I just find it annoying, to be honest. But at the end of the day, understand that, hey, you might get a lot of reaction, but you're also going to get a lot of negative. And one negative is going to take a whole lot of positive to counteract it. So I tend to avoid things that are to post that are going to be very negative. That's also why you see on Facebook a lot of happy stuff, because happy stuff doesn't engender negative responses to it. And that's, part of the getting into the deception of the algorithm and things like that is part of it. But that's it. So understand that, hey, that's the case. Now, one of the other important things is that Facebook business pages are still important to have as a business owner, but they're irrelevant to post on. In fact, if you go look at mine, I can't tell you, I don't remember the last time I posted on, probably like 4 months ago, maybe more than that. And the reason is that Facebook specifically has become a pay to play. If you want people to see your stuff that you post on your business page, you have to pay. There's pretty much like, you're going to, I would post something, I might get 4 or 5 out of 1,500 on that page that will like it. And so it's not worth the time and effort to post there consistently anymore. But you do need to have it so that if you ever want to run ads, or you want to get more stats or data about your audience, things like that, there's a lot of reasons to have it. Posting is not necessarily one of them anymore. So I use my personal account to post on a lot of things. Pros and cons to that, I don't get any stats, I don't get any trackability, I can't see anything in that nature. But I know that more folks are going to see it when I post there. So I've been doing that because eyeballs right now are more important than anything else.
That is so funny because I'm going to add Mind Reader to your bio, because that was exactly my next question, was about the business page. So I'm super happy you jumped on that. So I like to give my listeners a badassery bestowment. Do you have one that you can share that is going to just push their digital marketing to the next level?
Yeah. So it's something I say a lot, and I want you to really take it to heart. So if you weren't listening before, listen to this. Stop treating your social media like a thing you have to do, and start treating it like something that's an extension of who you are. When you do that, you will see infinitely greater results. Think about social media like your hand. You don't think of your hands as separate things that you have to like, oh, I have to go pick this up with my hand. Oh, I have to type this with my hand. Oh, I have to do, your hand is a part of who you are. Social media is a part of your business. And if you treat it as such, it will return and you'll be able to reap the rewards of it. But when you treat it as, oh, I have to go do this thing, it's never going to do, because your negative emotion about it is going to come through in the words that you choose to use, the posts, the images that you do, how frequently you post, and every other aspect of it is going to be seen through that. So treat it like it's just a part of the business and has to be done, and it will return the results for you long term.
I love that. So well said. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the second half of the podcast, I like to let my listeners know what makes you a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS. So the first letter is book. What is a book that has made a huge difference in your life?
Yeah. So one, I mean, there's literally hundreds, thousands probably. But one that has really impacted me dramatically recently is The Culture Code by, I think it's Daniel Coyle, if I remember correctly, or either Daniel or David Coyle. No, I think I know a David Coyle.
I know a David Coyle.
I was like, nope, that's not right. I was just talking to him last weekend. That's why I was thinking his name. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Daniel Coyle, The Culture Code. So check that out. But it's a book about how do you build the culture in your business, and something that I realized there was a lot that I was doing that was negatively impacting the culture, and I was getting frustrated because we had let a number of folks, like brought folks in. I was like, man, this person's gonna be awesome. And then 2-3 months in, they're like, no, this is terrible, and I'm letting them go. And I was like, what's going on? Like, we keep letting people go. We keep having to let them go. And I started realizing, man, the way that I'm communicating my culture before the interview and even during their working with me was not what I should be doing. I was doing it the way that I was taught by business school, which is not, and a lot of what's in that book is very counterintuitive to do. So I would highly recommend checking that out if you work with anybody in your business, which is pretty much every business.
And I've never heard of that book, and I love reading, so I'm definitely gonna have to check that one out. The first A in badass is advice. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever received is document your journey. Whether ideally on social media as you go along. The thing that's interesting is if I look back to when we first got started in real estate and I got that first real estate deal and I had no idea what I was doing. I think back to that with nostalgia. I'm like, oh man, I was such an idiot then. I had no idea. Right. But I've learned so much. And I look at my growth over 11 years, 12 years of doing this. And I'm like, oh my God, like my growth is insane from day one till today. And I wish I would have documented my journey more. I've gotten much better at it over the last 5 years or so, but at the beginning I didn't document it at all. Now, if you're comfortable documenting your journey online, even better, because people love to watch your journey as you go along, and it will get you more followers. And it's a story. People love stories. So I love the idea of documenting your journey, and for no other reason than, think about like journaling, right? You go back and read your old journey, you're like, oh my God, that was that big scary goal then. And now it's like, you're like, that's nothing.
Exactly. And a lot of people get stuck sometimes because they are just looking forward and they forget to look back to see how far they've come. So I think that's excellent advice. The D in badass is drive. What drives you to be successful?
Can I take a page out of Dr. Dre here and say big screen TVs, blunts, 40s, and no, I'm just kidding. That's not really it. But you sent me that question earlier, and I was like, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, well, maybe that's true. But for
I'm glad
me,
you said it, because I was like, oh, he better say that. I love it.
So for me, what truly drives me is control of my life and my choices, and in the sense of, I want to be able to spend time doing what I want to do, for, living where I want to live. So if I just moved to Austin, Texas, I'm like, yeah, like, that how much would have gone into that if I still had a job, right? Like, I look back at my old job and there was nothing inherently wrong with it. I got paid very, very, very well. And I was like, but I was not in control of the choices. I was always going to be subject to someone else's decisions, and I didn't like that. And so for me, it's the ability to seek and be free in whatever choices I have, but also along the way, it's to impact as many folks as I have. That's why I've spoken for as many hours on stage as I have, because I was like, look, like it's fun, it's energizing to me to watch an entire room of people have the light bulb go off in their head and go, oh my God, that's awesome, I can do this now.
Why'd you move to Austin? I mean, I knew you were in LA. I knew you grew up in New York, but what brought you to Austin?
Energy. And this is what I was,
Really?
yeah. So I was energetically called to be here. I booked an Airbnb for 2 months, now going on 3 months, and was just like, let me check it out and see what I feel. And I just liked it. I just felt like this is the right next move for me. I'm not like, I'm not going to go around, with energy crystal bowls and things like that. That's not my jam. I have a lot of respect for people who do that because I've seen it work wonders on a lot of folks. It's not me, but I do feel energy from a place, and this place energizes me quite a bit.
That's awesome. And what's the motto for Austin?
Keep it weird.
Yes, I love it. All right. The second A in badass is aspiration. What is a goal that you're currently working on?
What is a goal that I'm currently working on? For me, it's just to continue to impact as many folks as possible. I like the way I did an interview on my podcast with David Meltzer, and he said, "I'm on a mission to help a million people, help a million people, help a million people, and that's how we get to a billion people." And I was like, I love it. Like that's my goal right now is not, a million people, because that's huge for the size of my audience currently. But if I can help 100,000 people, that's still a pretty good stretch for me for right now. So I'm just here to help people realize that, hey, you know what, digital marketing can be fun, it can work, and more importantly, I want to be the digital marketer that my clients can trust. It's actually why we call ourselves digital marketing fiduciaries. If you don't know the difference between a fiduciary and a financial advisor, go look it up. It's super important to understand. But we're here to do the right thing for you, even if it's not necessarily the right thing for us.
And I love how David always says, "How can I help?" Like that's how he starts conversations. How
Yeah.
can I help? I love him. If he's listening, I want you on my podcast. Okay, so the first S in badass is systems. What are some systems you have in place to help you achieve success?
So systems for me are all electronic for the most part, except for my to-do list, which is on paper. So
Really?
the one thing that I do like having on paper, is just writing it out sinks it into my brain more so than typing it out. But and then I can bring it with me. I mean, I'm bringing my laptop with me usually almost everywhere I go, anyways. But yeah, so I like using online systems for a lot of things. Literally everything. And automation. If you're not using tools that automate things for you, so like every tool we have that we use needs to include some form or function of automation if it's possible and makes sense in the context of that tool. So for example, when someone opts into my email list, I want it to automatically send email, automatically push them over here, automatically do these things. So I don't want to have to think about it, because if you can't automate things and you have to keep manually doing them, you're always going to be behind the ball.
I'm shocked you have a paper to-do list. That blows my mind.
Yep.
Wow.
Somewhere over here. I think it's on the ground over behind me. I got mad at it earlier and I threw it.
So the last S in badass is success. What does success mean to you?
So success for me means being in front of more folks and helping them achieve their version of success. Because I know that if I'm helping that person achieve their success, they're going to help me achieve mine. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be working with them in that capacity. So, things like this podcast, any of this stuff, I just love being out there, and I love being on stage. I know I'm that weird guy. It's like, the stage is my happy place. So, and that enables me to help more folks at mass scale, which is what I'm currently attempting to do.
And I first saw you on stage and am so lucky to now call you a friend. And you have influenced me tremendously. So how can my listeners be influenced by you? What do you have going on? Is there anything coming up that they can be a part of? Because yes, this is the badass interview, but you are truly a badass at this. And I have you on speed dial in my phone when I'm like, I can't figure this out. And, you have just made a huge difference for me. I'll tell you one thing that you said, and it was about my background. And we're on a Zoom call right now. You all can't see it. You're just going to hear the audio, but I'm sure he's picking apart my background because it's too cluttered. He's like, get rid of all that shit. But he's so meticulous in everything that he does. So please tell me you have something coming on that my listeners can be a part of. What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. So June 11th, 12th, and 13th, which is a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I have a live virtual event happening, and it's all about helping entrepreneurs and business owners identify, build, and amplify their digital presence. And I would love to see all of you there. As of right now, at least, I'm not sure by the time this airs or not, but the tickets are still very cheap. Right now, early bird pricing is only $27. In fact,
$27.
That's it for 3 days. It's about getting people there. Mass impact, not mass, we'll make it work. That's it.
Guys, if you're listening, $27. Like,
that's it.
I have paid a shitload more for Bob's services. So for you to get it for $27, that's awesome. Thank you for doing that for everybody out there. I'm sure it's going to be loaded with tons of content. So how do my people find you? Actually, you'll give me a link for them to check it out?
Yeah. So you can go to velocitydigitalevent.com. If you go to velocitydigitalevent.com, and I'll also make sure that Jen has a link for that as well. You go through there and you can grab your tickets and get locked in. And
then on social media, they can find you at the Bob McIntosh.
The Bob McIntosh, TheBobMcIntosh. There's no A in my last name, which is one confusion people get. But yeah, just look up literally every platform, the Bob McIntosh.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. You have definitely given the listeners some huge nuggets. Guys, go out there, sign up for this course. I mean, $27. That's just crazy. So that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.